You know those clothes that you have in a drawer or hanging at the back of your closet that you never wear because they're just uncomfortably too tight? Today, we are going to fix them with a very simple shape. Yes, we are going to add triangles to our clothes to make them fit wonderfully comfortably once again. And every single one of these tutorials, including the brand new one, are ones that I literally had never done before. So you are seeing my first attempt. We are making together for the very first time once again today. And you know what? If I can do it, so can you. I'm a Refashionista Sheri, and I show you how to use what you have to make what you want. So let's get making. Let's upsize the waist of my refashioned lace bell bottoms. For this hopefully quick and easy project, all you need is your garment that has a too tight waistband and some kind of fabric to use for your upsizing insert. I'm actually going to use what is left from the leggings that I chopped up and used for my jumpsuit upsize. If you missed that, I shall link it down below, but this has a bit of a stretch to it, and this is, some kind of jersey mix fabric, so it's not going to fray, which is fantastic. First, I need to figure out the size of my upsizing insert, so I've grabbed a pair of trousers that has a similar fit to the ones I'm upsizing, except of course these fit me in the waist, and I'm just going to put these ones on top, making sure everything is lined up pretty evenly here, and then all I have to do is measure this, but I have to measure all the way around, right? Just to make sure I'm going to get the correct amount that I need for my panel. And this is to measure the width I need. Alternatively, you can put these on and then simply do them up until they're comfortable and then measure the width from the side to the side as well as the approximate length you'll need. And here are my measurements plus some very easy math. For the width, I need about 13 centimeters. The length, I need about 8 centimeters, plus 2 centimeters for seam allowance. Then we're going to have 15 centimeters wide by approximately 10 centimeters long. So I have my lovely triangle all chopped out now, and let's just put it on and see. That's basically what it's going to look like, and I think that's totally fine. It's now going to become an extra cool design feature in the back. So first I thought I would simply cut straight down, but then I realized that this seam looked very easy to unpick, so that's exactly what I did. Plus, I also unpicked the waistband here on the front and the back, so now all I have to do is cut the waistband so I can put my insert in. Now that that seam is all opened up, I'm going to grab my insert and line it up with, of course, the right sides facing, as always. And I'm going to get this as even as I can up top here so we don't have any little bloops. And now I'm just going to go stitch that together and then repeat with the other side, and it should be done. Once you have one side stitched on, I highly recommend going and trying the trousers on just to make sure everything is going the way it should. And my insert is all stitched on, and of course I did a straight stitch, then I did my zigzag, and then I trimmed off the excess with my pinking shears to help prevent any possible fraying. And look at that, that looks absolutely lovely. So it's definitely time to try it on and style it up. That triangle totally worked to upsize those trousers. Now let's see if we can use the same technique to make the bust of a dress bigger.
Oh, hi! You've caught me having my afternoon delight. So today Sheri's going to show you how simple it is to transform a kind of too tight in the top, but too long and loose in the bottom vintage Hawaiian muumuu into a fantastic dress for summertime. So, cheers and stick around for that.
So your first step is to simply mark the dress to your desired length plus a couple of centimeters for seam allowance and then chop on through. So the easiest way I have found to get the correct measurements for upsizing the bust of a dress is to grab a dress that does fit me comfortably, measure the underarm seam to underarm seam across the chest, and this one is 50 centimeters. So now I know I need to have a dress bust width of about 50 centimeters in order for it to fit me comfortably in the chest. So now I can take that measurement and go work with it on the too small dress. So as you can see here on the too small bust, it really is too small. It's only about 43 centimeters underarm seam to underarm seam, which leaves a good 7 centimeters that are necessary for my bust. So the great thing about doing this quick and easy measurement now is I just have to cut that 7 centimeters in half, leaving 3.5 centimeters on each side as my panel width that needs to be put in. So let's go ahead and chop our panels out and sew it all together. So in order to get the correct length for my fabric panel side inserts, I went ahead and unpicked the underarm side seams here, and as I was unpicking, I kept slipping the dress over my head until it reached the point where it was comfortable and loose on my bust. So now I know to make my fabric panels about 22 centimeters long, and again 3.5 centimeters wide, plus an extra centimeter or 2 of seam allowance. So as you can see, I went ahead and used my measurements to cut out a little triangular template to use as my fabric insert, and then I just grabbed that chopped bottom part of the dress, pinned on my template, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it out and then show you how to pin it all together. I've gone ahead and pinned my lovely little triangular fabric insert to that side seam that I had previously opened, and it looks like it's going to work wonderfully. So let's go ahead and stitch it together and check the fit. Hooray! My groovy little bust inserts actually were successful. Not bad for a first try. And you know what? I tried it on and the dress actually is so much more comfortable and the bust fits me now. Yay! So once I had my side inserts all successfully put in, I just went ahead and gave the chopped bottom of the dress a nice clean hem. And because the hem didn't come out so super perfectly, I grabbed some of my lovely vintage lace and stitched it over top to camouflage that kind of wonky hem.
Editing Sheri here, and the update on this lovely dress that I refashioned in 2017 is that it was sold in 2021 along with an absolutely lovely refashioned vintage romper to a very happy customer. And if you want to check out and maybe purchase some of my makes for yourself, the link will be down below.
Hey, Refashionista Sheri popping in to remind you that, once again, if I can do this, you can do this. I taught myself how to sew when I was 38, and every single thing I do is basically an experiment. So if you want to join me on my rockin' Refashionista journey every single week, go ahead and subscribe. Now let's get back to our triangles.
And now let's revisit my first ever attempt at using a triangle to upsize something. Trying to upsize a button-up blouse that clearly was too tight in my chest. And I think it came out pretty good, but let's just see how I do this. All right, so for this, you need your too tight blouse, a piece of stretchy fabric or lace, once again, your scissors, and of course your sewing gear. And then the first thing I did was measure the back of my blouse from the bottom of the collar all the way down to the bottom hem. and then I simply chopped out a triangular shape. And then I took that triangular shape and I used it as a template to chop out a bigger triangular shape from my insert fabric. And then I simply pinned that to the open space that I now had in the back of my blouse with right sides facing, stitched it on, and as always did a tight wide zigzag on the exterior seam for extra strength. And my fantastic blouse was done, and I actually gained the necessary centimeters needed so the buttons were not pulling anymore, and I had a very cool lace back blouse. Years later, I used that same technique to make a maxi dress fit me that was too small in the chest, waist, and hips. Let's see how to do it. All you need is your dress that is too snug on your chest and hip and possibly waist area as well, plus some fabric to create your upsizing panel. So because this is a very long maxi dress, the very first thing I'm going to do is measure from the back bottom collar area here all the way down to the bottom hem. And then that way I should be able to have the general idea of how long I need my back panel to be. Luckily, my plaid shirt is kind of like a tunic length, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to have enough fabric here, and I'm just going to measure the back of my tunic shirt from this area here. I totally am forgetting what this area is called. Is this a yoke? I don't know. You let me know down below. This back part here, what is that called on a blouse or a shirt? Anyway, so I'm going to measure from the bottom of that all the way down to the end of my shirt here, and it is about 70 centimeters, so that's pretty perfect. If I cut out this back piece and then chop it in half and stitch it together, I should have pretty much exactly 140 centimeters, which is perfect. Okay, so I chopped out the back, I cut it into two pieces, and I just, stitched those two pieces together into a very long length, and I think it's actually going to work. I'm quite shocked, but clearly this is not even. That looks terrible. So now what I'm going to do is chop my upsizing panel piece here into a very long triangular shape, and the top part is going to be the thinnest part because this is the part that's going to go up by the collar, and then the bottom, you can see here I did keep the original hem of the shirt, so hopefully I won't have to rehem this. I can just stitch it onto my dress. But yeah, let's go chop this into a nicer looking triangle shape. Okay, so there is my great big long triangle shape. I mean, it's not perfect, but as I always say, perfection is the enemy of good enough, and this is definitely going to be good enough. Okay, you can see here I have opened up my maxi dress. Luckily, it had buttons all the way down the front, so I've opened it all up and laid it out as flat as humanly possible. And before I laid it out, I did go ahead and mark the center of the back of the collar. Now, you can see here, isn't that nice that this line literally is the center of the collar, but then it's no longer the center. So it would be great if I could just follow that line all the way down, but I can't. So what I'm going to have to do instead is what I always do, and I'm just gonna eyeball it, and I'm going to start at the bottom and then just chop all the way up to the bottom of the collar to open up the back of this dress. Okay, so I just popped my insert in behind the dress here laying on the floor just to see what it was going to look like, and holy crap, I think that's going to be awesome. So now it's time to stitch it together. Okay, so you can see here, I have my long insert triangle lying on top of my chopped maxi dress with the right sides facing And I have lined up the raw chopped edges here, and I'm actually going to start stitching from the bottom because I really do want to try to keep this finished edge here of the insert so I don't have to do any hemming because I really don't like hemming. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go stitch that side on first, and then we're going to come back and figure out how to stitch on this side. Okay, so once again, my little refashionista brain was successful, and this actually worked. I cannot believe it, and I'm super excited now to go stitch on the other side. Okay, so before I stitch this other side together, I thought I better show you how I managed to get it all lined up nicely. So all I did was take that side of the maxi dress that was over here before, and I just folded it over. So I have the right sides facing once again, so super simple, and I have lined up those bottom hems. So now let's go stitch it together, give it an iron, and see what it's going to look like. So as I said, this definitely needs to be ironed, but how perfect did that come out? Like, seriously, look at that. I cannot believe how great that top part came out. And you see, it's just literally a triangular shape all the way down. Now, because I don't have a serger, I'm probably going to go back and redo this fabric edge here because they are fraying a little bit, and I might do a rolled hem foot just to finish that off nicely. But now I'm gonna go iron this whole thing, and then we can finally try it on and style it up.
Who knew that triangles could solve so many tight-fitting issues? I didn't, but now we all know, right? And once again, it is so easy to use what you have to make what you want, especially when you're dealing with your clothing. And if you want to go even deeper, I highly recommend joining my wardrobe revolution at refashionistasherry.com. And you know what? If you are going to use one of these fabulous triangles, which one is it going to be? Which tutorial are you going to use first? And what other items in your wardrobe do you think that this technique would work the best with? Let me know down below. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and I'll catch ya on the zigzag. Also, I have something very exciting in the works. Actually, I have two things that are very exciting in the works, so be sure to subscribe, stick around, and wait for those funky announcements coming up soon. For just 99 cents a month, you can help save a struggling refashionista. For just 99 cents a month, you can help sustain the much-needed work that goes on behind the scenes. Every thrift flip, every DIY, every upcycle, every free tutorial can only continue with your support. Join my Refashionista crew for only 99 cents a month, less than the cost of 2 bananas or a pack of gum, and help me continue teaching anyone who wants to learn how to use what they have to make what they want. Don't let affordable, sustainable DIY style become an endangered species. Join my Refashionista crew today.
This is Confessions of a Refashionista.